We start our bulletin with a story from the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C., one of the most protected and heavily guarded place on the planet. It was supposed to be a night of diplomacy, connection, and celebration. Instead, it turned into a tragedy. Gunfire erupted outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in downtown Washington, D.C. late on Wednesday night. What followed were scenes of horror, confusion, and heartbreak. Two Israeli embassy staffers, Yaron Lischensky and Sarah Lynn Milgram, were shot dead just a few steps away from the venue. The suspected gunman, 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago, has been seen loitering outside the museum, pacing, watching, waiting. Then, without warning, he opened fire with a handgun on a group of 4 people. Eyewitnesses say he later shouted, "Free Palestine," while being arrested by the law enforcement.
The suspect who was detained is 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago. After the shooting outside the museum, he entered inside and then was detained. 2 people who were inside the museum at the time told the Associated Press that they heard at least 10 gunshots. Afterward, they saw the shooter inside the museum. He was wearing a red keffiyeh, which is a traditional Middle Eastern headdress. And while he was being detained, they told us that he shouted, "Free Palestine."
In the chaos, Rodriguez, the suspected attacker, was briefly mistaken as a victim and allowed entry into the building before his true role in the tragedy was revealed.
We heard between 10 to 15 gunshots, roughly. I don't know the exact number. And all of us were a little bit startled, but, you know, I'm from D.C., so gunshots are not pleasant, but not something I've never heard before. And the security guard happened to let this guy in. I guess they were thinking that he was a victim. And he was covered in rain. He was clearly in trauma. He was in shock. And, you know, some of the people at the event brought him water. They sat him down. "Are you okay? Were you shot? What happened?" And he's like, "Somebody call the cops."
As the details emerged, a more tragic tale came to light. Lischensky worked as a research assistant at the Israeli embassy. He moved to Israel from Germany at the age of 16. He was also a passionate photographer, while Sarah Milgram worked at the Israeli embassy's Department of Public Diplomacy. She was an American citizen. It has now been revealed that Lischensky had bought an engagement ring and was just days away from proposing to Milgram during their planned trip to Jerusalem.
The couple that was gunned down tonight in the name of Free Palestine is a young couple about to be engaged. The young man purchased a ring this week with the intention of proposing to his girlfriend next week in Jerusalem. They were a beautiful couple who came to enjoy an evening in Washington's Cultural Center.
The shooting comes at a time of deepening global unrest. Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza continues, while ceasefire efforts remain stalled. The Jewish community, both in America and globally, now finds itself staring at the ugly face of violent anti-Semitism once again. The shooting comes at a volatile moment as fighting rages in Gaza and diplomatic efforts to broker a ceasefire are deadlocked. This incident has heightened fears for Israeli diplomats and Jewish communities worldwide. Israel's foreign minister called the shooting a direct result of toxic anti-Semitic incitement that has surged since the October 2023 Hamas terror attack.
This is what happens when leaders in the world surrender to the Palestinian terrorist propaganda and serve it. The statements and attacks blame Israel instead of Hamas. Hamas started the war on October 7th, is solely responsible for the war's continuation, and is solely responsible for the suffering of Israelis and Palestinians alike.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered security measures to be stepped up at Israeli diplomatic missions worldwide, while Israelis say they don't feel safe anywhere.
Very sad to see that it's become a day-to-day event that all over the world, in Israel and all over the world, you hear about terror attacks on Jews and on Israelis, and it's constant and it never gives up. Jews don't feel safe anywhere. The reasons why these attacks happen is there's anti-Semitism and hatred of Zionists, of the will of Jews to live. That's the base of it. And any fighting between Jews is not the reason why other people want to attack Jews.